All right, friends, we are live, and forgive me, we definitely ran into some technical issues, but we are here on our first Rise Up and Lead. As you can tell, this is a one-man live stream show, and yes, I am running all the technical aspects of the live stream as well, but it is a pleasure to serve the Lord in this capacity. And so here we are. We are starting our first Rise Up and Lead in the following manner. Before we get into what we're doing here today, what is it that we want to accomplish and share with you, I want to make sure, first of all, that yes, absolutely, we are live broadcasting. I'm checking on my phone, and we are actually broadcasting correctly. um, I want to share with you a video that will give us some context as to the reason for our meeting today. Here we go.
Dear young Catholic professionals, I want to invite you to be part of Tepeyac Leadership Initiative. This is an opportunity for you to use your Catholic faith, but also your gifts of leadership, so that you can help our society to be more alive in Christ, and also to be a culture that's richer in truth and goodness. Please take time to consider this initiative, and I hope you will be part of the Tepeyac Leadership Initiative. God bless you.
And of course, that was a video from our beloved Bishop Olmsted, the Bishop Emeritus of Phoenix, several years
Peace
ago.
be with you. Friends, the
Several
leaders
years
for
back.
today are really magnificent, and they are all about.
And we corrected that technical gadget. We're going to get this right. We're going to get this right. I promise you. And that was a video from Bishop Olmsted, the founder of Tepeyac Leadership Incorporated. And so this week, we are doing a live stream series because here we are 8 years into this adventure, this journey that the Lord placed in front of us, this mission to train the next generation of Catholic leaders for civil society. And it's a mission that has been exciting, that has been full of unexpected surprises along the road. But here we are. The Lord continues to bless our apostolate. We have come so far. So far, we have accomplished so much for God's greater glory. Today, we want to share with you about what we have done over the past few years, what Tepeyac leadership has accomplished, where we are, why we're here, So why don't we start with that? Because one of the things that not everybody knows about Tepeyac leadership is the origin story. How did Tepeyac leadership begin? How did we start as an apostolate? Before we do that, I just want to point out to you that if you go to our live stream on LinkedIn, and if you check out the top of the live stream where there is a link to give, I want to encourage you early on as we begin this journey, this 5-day, week-long journey, which is Rise Up and Lead, to consider becoming a financial supporter for Tepeyac leadership. This is what this is about. This is a primary one of the most important aspects of what we're doing this week. We're trying to recruit financial support for our apostolate. For those of you who may or may not be in the church world, in the apostolate world, in the nonprofit world, in the mission-oriented world, you know, or maybe you learned this week, that funding is everything when it comes to advancing a mission. Of course, we rely and tap into God's grace and gifts to our mission and his guidance as we move forward. But he uses our apostolate also to touch different people's lives as they add up to the mission, and that very often is done through financial support. So before I go into the origin story of Tepeyac leadership, I want to ask you to consider becoming a financial supporter for TLI, and the link is right above here on LinkedIn. Later today, in a few minutes, we're also going to be joined by a special guest that's going to be with us today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about her own experience in the TLI journey. So she's actually a graduate from our Tepeyac Leadership Initiative program. She's standing by to join us. and we're going to talk to her. But first, I want to tell you the origin story of Tila. You saw that video from Bishop Olmsted. He looks a little younger on the video. He's not much older. He still looks very young. He's a very young retired Bishop Emeritus of Phoenix. But as you can see, his enthusiasm for something that back then was a novel idea, a novel concept, a leadership development program for Catholics primarily, for Catholic professionals who are interested in becoming leaders ready to influence the world with the values of the gospel. But how did this all start? I'm going to tell you. So it was, I think, 2016 when I was the director of the Hispanic Mission Office in Phoenix. I was working, serving God through service of the Diocese of Phoenix and Bishop Olmsted. And as an employee of the Diocese of Phoenix sent me to the community to represent the Catholic Church, to represent the Diocese of Phoenix in a secular civic leadership development program. This program it's one of many that are very popular, very well attended in the secular world, in civil society here in my community of Phoenix, Arizona. I was in this program with about 30 other people, 30 other individuals who were representing institutions from the private sector, nonprofit sector, government, healthcare, education. It was very well represented, men and women, people from all walks of life. However, I was the only person of faith in the group. Not only that, I was the only person representing an institution of faith, and the only person that had any faith that actually practiced a religion in the group. Going through that experience really was a wide-opening experience because it opened my eyes to the reality of civic leadership development in the United States. Later, I found out through research that this concept of civic leadership development really has been around for the longest time, since the 70s, sort of under the radar. I mean, those who need to know, these programs are no secret to the people who are in the career world. They take on names like Leadership Philadelphia, Leadership Los Angeles, and just making up these names. Maybe there are some programs named that way, but this is the names that sort of these programs take on. Each of them takes on a different shape or flavor, but for the most part, what these programs are doing is they are forming leaders. They're shaping, influencing upcoming leaders, and then sending them out and really pushing them into key leadership positions in their community. These are the programs where many of our public elected officials get started in politics. But not just politics. People from the for-profit and non-profit sector also get started in leadership. This is where they tap into resources, they build their networks, and then they go out and do whatever it is that they feel called to do. Unfortunately, when I was going through one of these programs myself, I also discovered that most of these programs, including the one that I was going through, are forming leaders with values that ran directly opposed to Catholic teaching. They're forming leaders with anti-values, for lack of a better word. And so no wonder we have the leaders that we have in society today, in the United States and around the world, right? This has been happening for a long time, continues to happen. So you can imagine during the different sessions and discussions, and those who were with me in that program might remember how disruptive I might have been a force of disruption during the program, as I often found myself raising my hand, my lonely hand in the back of the room to object to several of the things that were being proposed and really pushed into the minds of the participants. I honestly felt that there was a lot of brainwashing going through that experience. And so I got out of that experience a little frustrated, but also a bulb had turned on in my head. And I went back to my bishop to report on the experience. I reported on the experience of going through this program. And I remember having a conversation with Bishop Olmsted, and I told him, Bishop, this is a novel concept. In reality, who could be against the idea of forming leaders? It's just not being oriented right. But I feel we can do it better because we could make it Catholic. And that, friends, led to a series of conversations in which Bishop Olmsted and I together created the curriculum and founded Tepeyac Leadership Initiative. Initially, a diocesan program for the Diocese of Phoenix that we named Tepeyac for no other reason than to ask Our Lady of Guadalupe and Juan Diego to intercede for the fruits of our work. That's what it was. That was the only reason behind it. That's how it started. And then we set off to form leaders in Phoenix, right? It was 2018 when we graduated the first class of Tepeyac Leadership Initiative. And after seeing the fruits early on from the program, I went back to Bishop Olmsted and I asked him, Bishop, how would you feel if I took the program out of the diocese and turned it into its own Catholic apostolate so that we can share it with the rest of the church independently? He gave me his blessing and support for that. And so for several years, we were building Tepeyac Leadership as an organization, as an institution, sort of in an incubator basis at the Diocese of Phoenix. I received much support from Bishop Olmsted. And, and then really the rest is history. And now we have Tepeyac leaders all over the world. I am blessed to be part of this mission that the Lord has put in our hands, placed on our hands. And now I am joined by Roxana Amaton. She is actually one of the graduates of Tepeyac Leadership from the first generation, for the very first generation, graduated in 2018. So she would have been recruited for the program, recruited by me. I used to wear a lot of hats. I still wear a lot of hats in 2017. And then she graduated from the program in June of 2018. Welcome, Roxana. Thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate you being here, Roxana.
Hi, Christopher. Thanks for having me. It's always a joy to be here and just to be able to present and also just to be able to learn because I really appreciate what you do for the community. I feel like, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I first started practicing my faith again, like seriously practicing my faith, I would drive to work, and on my way to work, I would listen to you talk. You had a segment in Radio La Familia, and so that was like every morning, that was like my thing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to Christopher
Oh,
Pereira and what
wow.
he got to say. So
Well, I'm glad because that probably had some influence in you accepting the invitation to participate in the program back in 2017. You were part of the first generation. Now we have 8 generations that have graduated from the program. We have reached, Roxana, the 400 graduate mark. There are now
wow.
400 Tepeyac leaders around the world, and you are part of the first generation. Tell me a little bit, Roxana, when I first approached you in 2017, what were your thoughts about what you were getting yourself into, what you were being invited to be part of? What did you think it was going to be? And was it that when you participated in the program?
Yeah. Well, I remember that I was definitely looking for something more. Back in 2017, I definitely wanted to be challenged. And then even more so like to learn about like what it meant to like share my faith, but in a secular setting. And so when I had come back to the faith, the only encyclical that I really had sat down and read was Humanae Vitae. So when you shared with me like what that process was going to be like, there was a five, a five
Months, 18
month
weeks?
yes program, and just like how it was going to be laid out, I said, oh, this is so fascinating because we're going to go through just the various types of encyclicals. I mean, when you're busy, working layperson, it's hard to go like make the time to actually sit down and read some of these documents. So just for you to be able to offer that, and then not only that, just like the speakers were just so amazing, and I just found it to be an opportunity to have like not only like be able to receive information, but also to connect with some of the speakers, and then also build relationships with my cohort. And even to this day, like we still have get-togethers, and we get to meet with other cohorts. And so it's been an awesome opportunity in that sense. Is like it just keeps growing and growing, and then with the conferences too, it's been an amazing thing to just watch it flourish and grow. And I think that it's so important because for me, and I was just talking about this yesterday with some friends. It's like I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to grow stagnant in my faith. I want to keep growing more. And so I think that this is definitely a great program to get you plugged in, especially with other like people that are professionals, but then also just like leaders in general, whatever that may be.
Roxana, I think that um, the second piece to the experience, the first reason you want to do the TLI program, of course, is the formation that you receive, the tools that you are equipped with, the mission that you discern and you're sent off with. But the second value-added piece of the experience, I think, is the TLI family, the network that is more than a network, as you know. It really feels like a family of Catholic professionals now around the world that are ready to support you in your aspirations, professional and spiritual. And of course, for all of us, the common denominator is that our aspiration is to be saints. And that's something that we talk
Absolutely.
about in the program. I just want to send a shout out. If you see me looking down, I'm trying to manage this whole technology thing for the comments and checking my phone. So shout out to Joan Lira and Gerardo Figueiredo for joining the live stream. Thank you for joining us. But I want to ask you, Roxana. So in the program, we I believe that we share some ideas. Primarily is that, and it's not original ideas. It's ideas that perhaps haven't been discussed in such extent or detail in the church. Things that the laity needs to understand better. For example, the fact that our mission is not at the parish or at the diocese. Some people don't understand this concept. The fact that, yes, we should absolutely be part of the parish community, support our pastors, go there regularly to strengthen ourselves with the frequent reception of the sacraments. And you and I run into each other all the time for daily mass. But our mission as laity is the world. Can you tell me a little bit about this idea?
Yeah, most certainly. Um, yeah, I mean, we are called to be to holiness, and then we are also called to share the gospel, right in those places that maybe they don't get to see, or they will never get to know who Jesus is. And so, I mean, those places can be, I mean, working in a secular agency, for example, like I'm always like trying to think like, oh my gosh, this person that I have in front of me, I mean, it could be that they have never encountered Jesus and here they are. And so maybe just being here with me is their only little glimpse of that truth. And so it is really a privilege to be a layperson and be able to do that. And obviously there's a difference in the laity because we have the religious orders, and obviously laity is those people that are not ordained, and we have that flexibility. I mean, we could go to, I mean, the gym and encounter someone that wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, feel comfortable like going up to priest or a religious sister, and they can strike up a conversation about, well, I noticed that you wear this t-shirt. What does that mean? Or I noticed on your water bottle you have this. So I mean, even when traveling, like even traveling to, I don't know, maybe like a conference, a work conference or something like that too. Those are opportunities that maybe, we have a privilege to be able to share the good news in unique ways. So.
And of course, you're referring to what I call the first level of impact in the world. And I think this is the one that most people identifies with right away. Practicing Catholic, faithful Catholics, good-willing Catholics. They understand, and we all do it with varying degrees of success, but we understand that we're supposed to witness at work and wherever we are, but definitely at work where we spend a lot of hours, right? This is what you're referring to. There's another level. This is what we really hammered through the TLI program. And a few years back, we published this book that I know you have a copy of, Catholic Leadership for Civil Society. We dedicated a whole chapter to board service, BOARD. I spell it because I have an accent. But board service, we say, is where leadership happens. I know you have had some experience with board service. Tell me about your own experience and also why you think that we need more faithful Catholics, well-formed Catholics, committed Catholics at every table where decisions are made in civil society.
Yeah, and actually that was another point that I wanted to make. It's just so important to, right, in the Catholic square to know that, there's a Catholic presence there just because like that's where important decisions are being made. And so the importance of being in a board or getting involved in some way in the political arena, whether it be like just advocating for the rights of the unborn, and the reasons why it's so important. I think now more than ever, there's just so much confusion. And so when you step into these roles in the boards and like you are able to share the truth of the dignity and the dignity of the human person. And so it's very much needed. There's so, like I said, there's just so much confusion about what it is, like what is life and at what moment it begins. And also like, how do you respect that dignity? And so yeah, more than ever, it is something that is very much needed. And yeah, it's something that I know you encourage us to get involved in. And so definitely is something that is important and very much needed. And I just a little side note too, like I got super involved with Proposition trying to advocate against Proposition 139. And so if there's some listeners, viewers on here, if you don't know, I mean, Arizona, unfortunately, now has written in their constitution that it's okay to basically kill a baby up to 9 months. And so, I mean, it's still something that, we have to continue to advocate that life, it deserves to be protected. And the reasons why it's more of the principle that, life needs to be respected. And so at all stages. And so, but again, there's just so much confusion.
Roxana, and thank you, Roxana. You're a very humble person. I know you don't brag too much about your accomplishments or things that you have done, but I can say that I know how involved you are in the pro-life arena, what a heart you have for the pro-life movement. You have been a member, I don't know if you still are currently, but you were a member of Rachel's Vineyard, which I know is an apostolate that helps moms who have those wounds, right, of having been part of this horrendous decision, so
Yeah.
such a tragic decision. And then you have been actively involved in the pro-life fight here in the state of Arizona. Some Catholics might think that they're called to pray, they're called to witness, and that should be enough. And they think that this is for somebody else. Is the call to be active in civil society for every lay Catholic, or is it just for an elite?
Absolutely, not just for the elite. It's everyone's, like every single person, every single person that's baptized in the Catholic Church. Really, it's so important now more than ever. Like I said, I do have a heart for the pro-life movement, and there is such a need. There's such a need. So if you have doubts, if you like, I highly encourage you to like take it up in adoration and ask the Lord to reveal to you where He wants to place you, because there is so much work there that needs to be done. And so in using your gifts and talents, whatever they may be, if it's just being able to write an article or to be able to show up and speak up at one of the pro-life events that happens at the state capitol, or whether it be like I've just seen so many beautiful things, like people writing books like about the dignity of the human person, and like the dignity of being a woman and things like that. And so it's specifically geared to like teenagers and things like that. So I think that if you're having doubts, bring those doubts to God in adoration, pray about it, and have him surprise you and see what there is there. Because like I
Absolutely.
said, we need you.
The Lord surprises me all the time. And I am a planner. I am a planner, Roxana. I always have a plan. I have plan A, plan B, plan C, but half of the time the Lord scratches all my plans and shows me his better plan. And that's really how he has built TLI. Roxana, in parting, I want to ask you to give some words of encouragement before I let you go to the people who are watching us, because as you know, this week we're here. This is an effort to create awareness for the need of lay Catholic leaders in civil society, which is the mission of TLI. But it's also an effort to create financial supporters for our apostolate. We want to encourage people to become monthly financial supporters. And some, I know that, we have about 4,000 people that follow our LinkedIn Tepeyac leadership page. We have about 8,000 people that follow the Catholic professional page. I have about 20,000 followers on LinkedIn in my personal account. And then we have about 4,000 people that get our newsletter via email and read our emails. I can see that they read our emails. They don't know that, but I can even see when they click. So I know they care for what we do. And they might think, well, I love to support, I'll pray. And that's number one, right? But some people might think, well, I'm not a donor, I'm not a philanthropist, I'm not a high network individual. How can I support them? But $10 a month go a long way. $5 a month go a long way. And there are many people who can do more than $10 a month, right? Talk to that. Talk to the need. You've seen our apostolate grow from its infancy to what is now still a young apostolate, young and fragile apostolate. But you're part of the TLI family. You've seen it grow. You see where it's going. Talk about the need to support it, please.
Oh yeah, most absolutely, yes. I would say that it's very much needed. I think that, like you said, like God surprises us, right? And so we don't know how, this is going to continue to flourish and within like these next 10 years. It's already, oh gosh, I mean, I can't even imagine like in 2017, like that it would be this, how much it's grown. So I'm just waiting for more surprises to see like how it'll unfold for you, Christopher, really truly. And I do believe that in this mission, because we do need some very like good solid lay people that are going to, defend what's right, and without having like this community and this network of individuals, amazing individuals to like support one another. Like I don't know. I think that God needs us, especially in this moment, for with everything that is going on. I think more than ever is that this apostolate is needed. So, yeah, I mean, even if it's like, $5, or even if it's more, I think it's definitely worth it. And you don't know how many other lives this is going to touch, and inspire, to continue to, speak up and be those leaders in their communities.
Thank you so much, Roxana. And this won't be the last time we'll see Roxana. I know she's going to continue to be part of this mission because she already has for some time. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you for being with us today, Roxana.
Thank you, Christopher. God bless.
Thank you. God bless. So we are gonna move on now and ask the question, friends, right? Do we need lay Catholic leadership in civil society? I have here some headlines And I don't know how many of you, which ones of you know of my background, but I used to be a television news reporter for several years for one of our national Spanish TV networks in the United States, a very prominent one. Check out my LinkedIn page, you'll know which one. But through my years, so I learned a little bit. I know a thing or two about journalism. And so I want to read to you some headlines. Pope Leo XIV, after US bombing in Iran, humanity cries out and pleads for peace. Euthanasia facility quietly opens at St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver. Kentucky political leader builds life-size stations of the Cross Garden. Pope Leo XIV tells politicians that AI should serve human beings, not replace them. Argentine businessman Enrique Shaw one step closer to beatification. Pew Report, this famous agency that gives us all of these statistics. US adults in their 20s and 30s plan to have fewer than 2 children. Archbishop shocked and disappointed by House of Commons passage of assisted suicide bill. This is in the UK. And for those of you who follow the news, these are the news. Some of them are good news, right? We have a man that's on his way to the altars, an Argentine businessman, Enrique Shaw. We are definitely fans of him at TLI. But the Pope raises so many other concerning alarms. By the way, shout out to Christopher Rascon, who's also joined the live stream. Do we need to be invested in making a change in the world? Do we need to? Let me show you a presentation that I often take around the country. The Lord has blessed me with the opportunity to go around the country and often talk to different crowds about the need for lay Catholic leadership in civil society. And one of the things that I often talk about is leadership itself. Just what is leadership? Because one of the something that comes with the territory as you enter the space of leadership is that you realize that there is really not a consensus as to what leadership is. Leadership really is this one thing that we all instinctively recognize, but we have a hard time defining, right? I mean, people know a leader when they see him or her, right? You know, yes, that's a leader, but you don't necessarily know how to describe leadership. And what we've done early on is we did research on leadership, and we realized that even the dictionary is of no help. And I have looked in English and Spanish, and the dictionary says that a leader is someone who leads others, or leadership is the act of leading, useless. Uh, we looked at corporate America, and many of you on LinkedIn are in the business world, and you know because you read these books, you go to the seminars, you go to the workshops, you watch the videos, you follow the gurus, the leadership gurus that promise you to turn you into the ultimate leader. Yet in the business world, when they say leadership, what they really mean is management, administration. That's what they mean. Effective, efficient allocation of resources, reaching goals, and this sort of thing, which are all good things, but not necessarily what we were looking for early on when we founded our apostolate and set out to form leaders for civil society. So we looked at the Catholic Church and what happens in the Catholic Church when we think of leaders. What is the first thing that comes to our mind as lay Catholics when we're thinking of Catholic leaders? For most people, it happens that the first image that comes to our mind is the Pope, right? We think of the head of the church here on earth and the vicar of Christ, and we think of the cardinals and the bishops and the priests. And lay Catholics put themselves at the bottom of a pyramid that they create in their minds. And lay Catholics, furthermore, have a hard time seeing themselves as leaders. We really struggle with that. We struggle with the ability to see ourselves as leaders. And this is for sincere reasons, for noble reasons, not for bad reasons. Because our faith has taught us, those of us who grew up in the faith or not, we know that as Catholics, we're followers of Christ. We're called to be humbled. That's where our faith calls us to. Humility. So what do you mean I'm a leader? I'm a follower, is what people tell me. Precisely, we tell our students, the people that go through our leadership training, all of us, because we're followers of Christ, we're called to lead others to Christ. So we are convinced that by virtue of our baptism, all of us, the baptized, are called to be leaders. All of us. So leadership, what is leadership? We ultimately, several years ago, adopted this definition that is not ours. It's from our friends from the Virtuous Leadership Institute. If you don't know about them, you ought to look them up. A great worldwide organization that's a lot of work in the education section. They talk about virtuous leadership and they define a leader as someone who accomplishes great things by bringing out the greatness in others. Very simple. A leader accomplishes great things by bringing out the greatness in others. So leadership is about inspiration. It's about inspiring others. But how do you inspire others? Let me tell you, friends, after all these years in the space of leadership, in the business of leadership, only recently a bulb went on, and now I think I can define leadership with one word. Maybe those of you who are watching, you want to type that word in the chat, in the comments, if you want to guess what one word would define leadership. What is the one word that you would use to define leadership? Type the word right now in the chat box, in the comments box, if you would, just so that I know what you think about this topic. But that word, I won't keep it a mystery, is service. Leadership ultimately is service. And the way that I can prove that to you right now, I can prove it, is that is precisely the way in which the ultimate leader of all times led. He came here to serve, not to be served. And that was his style, servant leadership. That is the essence of leadership. That's what leadership is at its root. And when people tell me, I don't think I can be a leader, Christopher, I ask them, can you serve others? Are you able to serve others? Have you ever been of service? Have you served others? Because the minute that you're serving, you're leading. Leadership has nothing to do with personality. Maybe I am an extrovert. Maybe I can get in front of the camera, do this live stream, but it has nothing to do with that. There's a lot of people that can get in front of a microphone, of a camera, and they're not leaders. Leadership is service, friends, at its essence. And that is the leadership that we're talking about. A leadership that is self-giving, a leadership that seeks the good of the other. That is the definition of love, right? Love is to seek the good of the other. So that is the leadership that is at the heart of this movement that we founded here in Phoenix, Arizona, in our apostolate, Bishop Olmsted, our founder, and myself several years ago. We did this, and we did it under the guidance of this mission to form lay Catholic leaders for civil society in the US and beyond. If you go to our website, tliprogram.org, you will see what our mission is all about. It's to form lay Catholic leaders for civil society in the US and beyond. This is a worldwide mission. There's a reason we worded this way, though. The US does come first. This is where we started. This is where most of the TLI family is for now. And so it radiates out from the United States to the world. And so that is our mission. And not only that, but I want to share with you something that we also treasure, that we have come to call now, to refer to as the Tepeyac prayer. And I'm going to pray it with you, if you would join me. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. O Mother, strengthen the faith of our brothers and sisters in the laity, so that in every field of social, professional, cultural, and political life, they may act in accordance with the truth and the law brought by your Son to mankind. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Juan Diego, pray for us. This is a very special prayer, friends. It's very special to us. And the reason it is so is that we encountered it early on our apostolate. Very early on, we encountered this prayer, and we immediately adopted it. We now refer to it as the Tepeyac prayer. And we use it before all of our gatherings, whether it is a one-time presentation. I travel around the country, I travel around the world doing presentations on Catholic leadership for civil society, and I start my presentations with this prayer. Our TLI program is a 5-month, 18-week program, intense, profound leadership development program for Catholic professionals. And we start every session with this. Our retreat starts this way. Our conference, every day of our conference starts this way. This was the prayer of Saint John Paul II when he visited the Basilica of Guadalupe in Mexico City. This was the prayer of the Pope. This was the prayer of Saint John Paul II, John Paul the Great. This is what he prayed. This is what he asked our mother. And we realized early on that our apostolate was an answer to that prayer. It was seeking to answer that prayer. That's what we're seeking to do with God's grace, with God's help, through the intercession of Our Lady of Guadalupe and Juan Diego, as I shared earlier. When we named the program Tepeyac Leadership, we did it for no other reason than to ask Our Lady of Guadalupe and Juan Diego to intercede for the groups, for the fruits, of our different groups, of our different cohorts, the fruits of our apostolate. And they have been tremendous intercessors for us. And so in this prayer, you see what our intention is: to strengthen, to form, to equip, to encourage, to guide, to direct, to send off with a mission Catholic professionals from all over the world, lay people who can enter the fields of the professional field, the social arena, the cultural arena, the political arena, and infuse it with the truths of the gospel, with the values of the gospel, with the truth brought to mankind by Jesus Christ, by our Lord, the second person of the Trinity. That is the mission of our apostolate. But, furthermore, we have realized that this was the intention of our Lord and Our Lady all along, because Juan Diego is this incredible icon, incredible image or model for lay Catholic leadership. Juan Diego was a man who thought of himself as nothing, worthless, nothing, person that perhaps couldn't accomplish. Well, he knew he was a son of God, certainly. He was a new Christian, but he didn't feel himself capable of a great mission. He didn't feel himself worthy of a great mission. And that was precisely who Our Lady wanted to use. And through the work that we do, we certainly come across people who are not confident, who maybe are a little shy, who have doubts about what their mission is, and what God is asking them of them. And if Tepeyac Leadership has done something for the program participants, if anything, I think that the program has become this incredible discernment process, discernment opportunity, discernment experience, because this is how the graduates of Tepeyac Leadership describe the program. They say that it is a catalyst, that they can look at their professional and spiritual lives before and after going through the program, and that the program was instrumental in showing them their mission, what God was asking of them. We've seen Tepeyac leaders who have pivoted their career in an entirely new direction and suspecting what God had planned for them. And some who have strengthened and reconfirmed the mission that they already knew, right? So this is our mission, ladies and gentlemen, friends who are watching the live stream. So for us to advance the mission, for us to accomplish our goals of one, forming lay Catholics for civil society, right? This is a mission that focuses on the individual, on people, real flesh and blood people, regular people, ordinary Catholics. This is not for an elite group. This is for people who want to serve, people who want to make the world a better place. It is for them individually. The mission of Tepeyac Leadership is for each of the people that the program has touched, that our formation platforms have touched. However, we have a magnanimous vision, and that is the vision of creating a large network of faithful and committed, Catholic leaders, lay Catholic leaders from around the world that can come together to transform the world, to build Christ's kingdom on earth. That is the vision. And friends, by the grace of God, we are moving the needle and we're moving the mission forward. But this vision cannot advance or it cannot advance at the speed that it should without your participation. And this is why we're doing this 5-week live stream series, because we want to share with you what Tepeyac leadership is up to now, what we're doing now, and what you can be part of if you become part of the TLI family, if you become a financial supporter. I know that many of you pray for our mission. You already know what we're doing. We get your emails, we get your comments, we get your likes and your reposts, and you encourage us. You tell us, keep up the good work. I'm so glad that you're doing it. Let me know any way I can help. And many of you volunteer as mentors and in different capacities, right? But there is a piece to this equation, to this puzzle, which is a now worldwide apostolate, which is the financial piece. And it's an important piece, an important aspect of what we're doing this week, to remind you that there is a financial piece and that we want you to also take ownership of this financial piece. We're asking you to invest in an apostolate. So I know that many of you are investors out there, right? You have your funds maybe in cryptocurrency, gold. I don't know. These days, the market are very shaky. I don't know where you have your funds, but you understand the concept of investing, and I know that many of you do. So we're asking you to invest. Invest in this vision. If you think that transforming society from within is something that the laity is called to do, if you would like to see Tepeyac leadership moving this mission forward, we ask you to invest. How much can you invest? Well, let me give you an idea of our expenses. Every year we have about 80 people going through our program, and it costs us about $2,000 to form a new Tepeyac leadership. Excuse me, to get somebody from a Catholic that wants to grow professionally and spiritually and make a difference, and giving them the formation and equipment and the tools, the discernment, space, process, and experience, and sending them out into the world with a concrete individual mission to fulfill, to accomplish. It takes us about $2,000 for participant. That's what it costs. That's what it costs us, right? And we don't talk a lot about this because those who are willing and able to pay their own way should, but we also work with Catholic leaders in developing nations, Catholic professionals in developing nations, such as, I don't know, Uganda, Mexico, India, that perhaps they are in a place where they need the support. So we try to find a way. We never let the cost be an obstacle to them participating. So how do we do it? We do it through a lot of fundraising, right? We get really creative and we do all kinds of things in order to fund the mission. And this is a new avenue that we are creating. Once a year, we're going to do this campaign so that we can recruit more financial supporters. We're interested in people who are willing to fund the mission in two ways. Some people are able to give a gift now, a meaningful gift that that can truly have an impact now in TLI, in our apostolate. A gift that will have an impact in TLI now. Some people are ready, and we know that you will. And this is why we're here, to make that ask. Others, maybe not. Maybe they're not able to write a big check today, but they certainly can commit to a monthly recurring financial support. And that's something that we want to ask you to do as well. Because what that does is the people that are able to make a major gift, they help us advance with confidence as we plan a new conference in Mexico City, which you have no idea how much goes into that, right? We had the Hour of the Laity conference in Southern California. We were blessed to be hosted at the Diocese of Orange at Christ Cathedral. So grateful to the community of Orange. So grateful to Bishop Van, Bishop Freire, to Father Bao, who opened the door to us and allowed us to host the conference there. But for the third year of the Hour of the Laity, We decided to take the experience to the next level. And the only way to do that was to go into the source of our apostolate, right? To Our Lady of Guadalupe, and the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe were the original image at the Basilica of Guadalupe, where the apparitions of Our Lady took place. In this holy ground that is Tepeyac Hill, we're going to be hosting the Hour of the Laity Conference, or the third, but for the first time in Mexico City at the Basilica of Guadalupe at Tepeyac Hill for the first time on the third year of the conference. The Hour of the Laity will take place there in Mexico City. This is not an easy thing to do. As a matter of fact, at the Basilica of Guadalupe, they've never done anything like that. We asked them, they said, no, we've never done anything like this. We're excited about it. We look forward to it. We want to help create more awareness of the devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe in the United States and around the world. So they're happy and excited to host us. They're not a conference center. The Basilica of Guadalupe is not a conference center. So we need to turn it into a conference center for our purposes for this weekend, November 6th to the 8th. That takes resources. That takes a lot of work, planning, and logistics, friends. And we're blessed to have a small army of volunteers and people that are willing to be part of this adventure in Christ. But we also need your support. We need your financial support. And that's what we're here doing today. So I want to ask you to consider clicking on the link that you see above here, above the live stream, and become a financial supporter. Become part of those who believe in the vision of Tepeyac leadership. Become part of those who want to invest in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. We all know what's happening in the world. We know, we know very well what's happening in the world. We're concerned about what's happening, right? But what are we going to do about it? That is the question. Let me go back to this screen, and I want to share with you now another of the founding principles, we could say, of the work that we do at Tepeyac Leadership. We cannot all be theologians, is what it says in your screen. What does this mean? This is, I'm showing you slides from the presentation that I use. I'm not giving you the whole presentation, but just showing you slides of the presentation that I use when I go around the country and around the world to talk about Catholic leadership for civil society. And so when we say that we cannot all be theologians, this is what we mean. We have discovered, and just like I said earlier, the lay Catholics have a hard time seeing themselves as leaders. We struggle with this. We struggle for sincere reasons. But, I talked about this earlier. However, when we finally begin to see ourselves as leaders, we finally say, yeah, okay, I think I can be a leader. We look at the mirror, we talk to God, we look at the crucifix maybe and say, yes, Lord, I'll accept the mission you want to give me. And we seek our place, we seek our mission, we're looking for our purpose. What happens very often, right? People might be watching from all over the world. This live stream, we have friends all over the world, but I know that this reality actually replicates all around the world, but it certainly takes place in the United States, which is the reality that I'm most familiar with, second to the Peruvian reality where I am from. But in the United States, very often when a lay Catholic has an experience of encounter or re-encounter with Christ, let's say that you went to a weekend cursillo retreat, right? Or something happened in your life. It could have been a tragic event, like the death of a loved one, or it could have been a beautiful event, like the birth of a child, right? Whatever it was, something happened. Excuse me. I needed one of these. Something happened in your life, and it caused you whatever it was, it caused for your fire to suddenly be ignited on fire. It's like the turn of a switch. Suddenly, your heart is ablaze. And what do we often do, right? Our heart suddenly is on fire for the faith. And we just want to give back and serve the church, serve God, and find our place in the church and in society. And we want to give to God everything, a little bit of everything that He has given to us. Just respond to His love in a generous way. What do we often do when we suddenly find ourselves with our hearts ablaze? Let me tell you what we do. We go back to the parish and we sign up for every ministry, every apostolate, every activity, every group, anything we can find, we say yes to, and we sign up and we just say yes, 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 and get very busy, and sometimes set up a tent and camp at the parish. But friends, that is not the authentic character of the lay vocation. That is not what it means to be a layperson. That's not what it means to be a lay Catholic. We can't all be theologians. We can't all be apologists. We can't all be catechists. You don't know the number of people that I meet regularly, professionals who suddenly the Lord has blessed them with a successful professional career, with a college education, where they had an incredible network, wide range of resources available at their disposal. They had an experience of encounter or re-encounter with Christ, and suddenly they want to drop everything to get a master's in theology. They don't know what they're going to do with the Masters of Theology yet, but they want to get a Masters of in Theology, and they want to live their careers, and they want to see how they can work for the church, work within the church. That's what they're looking for. So everything the Lord gave them, the place that He put them in, they think, I guess they assume that it's all a coincidence. They don't see that for us, for the laity, the world, and certainly for professionals, our career is our field of mission. That is what it means to be a lay person, to be an ambassador of the world, ambassador of Christ in the world. We can't all be theologians. We can't all be apologists. We can't all be catechists. We can't all be up at the altar. Some people will have that calling. Some people, certainly, this is something that the church needs and desires. Some people are needed, helping in all of these different capacities, but not the majority of us. So, for the majority of the laity, our mission is to be inserted in the world. So, this is something that in our program we refer to as the forgotten call from the Second Vatican Council, or the neglected call from the Second Vatican Council. So what am I talking about here? Many of you perhaps, and I hope that most of you faithful practicing Catholics have heard of the Second Vatican Council. Please raise your hand if you have heard about the Second Vatican Council, and if you are here joining us on the live stream, please type in the comment box and let us know what you know of the Second Vatican Council, because my first question is, have you heard of the Second Vatican Council? My second question is, have you read any documents from the Second Vatican Council? And please respond to that question as well in the chat box, because what we have noticed, and you can imagine when I am speaking in front of large audiences, friends, I am humbled to have had the opportunity to speak now in front of very large audiences where I ask this question. And I asked, have you heard of the Second Vatican Council? And a lot of hands go up. Sometimes most of the hands go up. And then I say, please hold your hands up if you have read any documents from the Second Vatican Council. And you can imagine what happens when what I try to demonstrate during those presentations, what I'm trying to demonstrate now, is that today, many Catholics continue to talk about the Second Vatican Council. We talk about it. When we do, we tend to focus primarily in two aspects of the council. We talk about the changes that came about in terms of the liturgy, right? All of you know, or most of you know, that all masses used to be, at least in the Roman Rite, used to be in Latin. They changed to the vernacular. Now they are in the individual language of each country. That was a major change. There were other changes, some changes that the council intended, and then there were some changes that the council didn't intend and took place. People talk about that. People talk about the ecumenical aspects of the council and the way in which the church began to relate, to interact with the outside world and with the other faiths, with the world, basically. So Catholics will talk about those two things, and they will argue about those two things all day long. But by far, most people miss the mark in the bold, urgent challenge that the Council Fathers had for us, for the laity. Friends, the Second Vatican Council gave us, the laity, our marching orders. It told us for the very first time with such a boldness and clarity, for the first time, who we were as laity, what our place was in society and in the church. That's what the Second Vatican Council did to us. That's what it gave us. That's the gift that it gave us. And today, it is widely ignored. Widely ignored. You don't hear about it from the pulpit, not often enough. And the laity ignore the wide majority, I venture to say the wide majority of lay Catholics around the world ignore what the Second Vatican Council had to say to us, through the documents of the council. For those who have read it, if not, go and read, particularly documents that address the laity directly or exclusively, like Apostolicam Actuositatem, or many other documents like Lumen Gentium that have sections that are specifically addressing the laity. What does it say? What does it tell us? What is our mission? What is the authentic character of the lay vocation? Let me tell you, it is our mission as laity to transform society from within, to insert ourselves into the secular fabric of society as to transform it from within. Because our beloved Pope and bishops and priests and nuns, they cannot do it. They cannot do it with the same effectiveness that we can do, precisely because of their state in life, and precisely because of our state in life. We can insert ourselves into the fabric of society as to transform it from within. When we set out to advance this mission of forming lay Catholic leaders for civil society, we thought initially, as I have shared with you, I told you the story, we thought that we had encountered a secular idea and that we were turning it into a Catholic program. But along the way, we discovered through our research that not really. This is only the mission that the church has already given us a long time ago. This is only what the Council Fathers had intended for us to do, for the laity to do, from the documents, from the message to the laity that came out of the Second Vatican Council. This is our mission. It is no coincidence. This is our mission, friends. This is what the church asks us to do. And so we have set out to respond to this neglected, to this forgotten call from the Second Vatican Council. And so I am inviting you now to join on this mission, to change the chip in the minds of lay Catholics and try and help them awaken to a new understanding, to a better understanding, to the authentic understanding of what it means to be a lay person, of what the church asks of us, of what our mission field is as laity, as I have stated earlier, the world. So if you believe that this mission matters, if you believe that this mission is worth doing, is worth advancing, is worth moving forward, I want to invite you to become a financial supporter. I want to invite you to click on the link that you see above here on the live stream and go to our page to become a financial supporter of Tepeyac Leadership. Whether you can give a major gift and have a tremendous impact on our apostolate today, have a major impact on our apostolate today, we'd be eternally grateful for that. And you would be helping us shape the future by forming leaders for the world. The world certainly needs it. Or whether you cannot, maybe you cannot make a major investment in the form of a major gift, but you certainly can. I believe, particularly those who are watching in the United States or in Europe, we have a lot of friends in Europe too, and I visited you, and I know your realities now a little bit better now that I have shared this time with you. I know how much the Lord has blessed you. Certainly in the United States, yes, there is such a thing as poverty in the United States, but it doesn't look anything like the poverty that I know where I come from in Peru and other places that I have seen. The Lord has blessed me with the opportunity to travel all over Latin America. Really, I have seen most countries in Latin America, so I know what poverty is, and I know how blessed we are. Even people of so-called modest income in the United States, we're so blessed. We are so blessed. The Lord has been so generous with this nation. We have been so blessed. And I am happy that the Lord has blessed us, that He has blessed you, that He has blessed this country, and we are grateful for that. But I want to ask you to consider whether the way in which you have been blessed allows you to bless an apostolate that is trying to do the work of God, that is trying to advance the mission of the church, that is trying to build Christ's kingdom here on earth, right? Because that is our mission. Our mission is to sanctify ourselves while sanctifying the world around us. Let me tell you, friends, behind every human institution, you can think of a hospital, you can think of a university, you can think of a business, small business or large corporation, you can think of a government office, department, whatever it is, behind every human institution, there is a group of people that come together on a regular basis to enact policies and to chart the direction of that organization. That, at TLI, we call a board. Whether legally it is called a board, it is actually a board, or it is something else. Maybe it is the halls of Congress. But behind that institution, there's a group of people, large or small, powerful or not, or less powerful. That group of people are charting the direction of that organization. They're enacting policy. They're influencing the culture. They're changing the world. Every table where decisions are made, we need more faithful Catholics, faithful and committed Catholics at every table where decisions are made. So this invitation is for you to be part of that mission to impact the world, to impact society through investing in Catholic leadership for civil society. What is Catholic leadership in civil society? Catholic leadership for civil society is running for a seat at your public school district. Catholic leadership for civil society is joining your homeowners association, joining your parent-teacher association, joining your professional association or guild if you're an engineer or a nurse or an architect or a lawyer, the bar of lawyers, whatever it might be. Every table where decisions are made. These are the places that belong to Christ and that have been, over the past few decades, as you know very well, have basically ejected the idea of God, rejected God Himself. They have rejected Him, right? We no longer have prayer in schools. We no longer have prayer in some city halls or some legislators around the country and around the world. This world more and more becomes a very secular place to be, a place that is anti-faith and certainly anti-Christian values. And that is where we're trying to change the needle and turn the clock back just a little bit. Ultimately, it's not about success. It's not about saying, oh, we finally got rid of that, or we finally accomplished this. We definitely celebrate our victories, and we are trying to bring about change. But ultimately, it's not about that either, because the results of our work, the fruits of our work, are God's. He gives us the gifts. He gives us the resources. He gives us everything, all of our talents, everything we have is God's. So even the fruit from our work, even the result from our efforts are His, because He gave us the tools that we use to advance the mission. So what is it that we can give God? Ultimately, I think the only thing we can give Him is the sincerity of our effort. The sincerity, not even the effort itself. The effort itself has to do with the gifts and the strength and the talents He has given us. But the sincerity of trying our best to advance His kingdom, to do His will, to become a better version of ourselves, because the battle starts within. That has to do with our will. He gave us free will. And that means we decide to choose whether we are on His team or not, whether we are all in or we maybe want to be spectators and we just want to watch the Christians do their thing from afar, and we just want to, we'll pray, right? We'll root for you from afar, but maybe we want to be actually in the battle, engage society and bring about change. If that is what you want to be, if that is what you feel called to be, I invite you to write to us, right? Send me a message on inbox. Let us know that you want to be part of this mission. We'll recruit you to do. We have multiple jobs for you. There are many things that you can do to join this small and growing army that we're building of faithful and committed Catholic leaders for civil society. We want to invite you to join this battle that is a spiritual battle, a battle that starts within. It first starts within. We want to invite you to invest in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. And the way that you can do it today, in this first day of Rise Up and Lead, a Catholic call to action, is by becoming a financial supporter. Click on the link that I have placed above, click on it, follow the prompts, and become a financial supporter for Tepeyac Leadership. Join the TLI family. Participate in this journey, in this adventure, in this exciting adventure. There's nothing more exciting and more that has given me more satisfaction, really, than serving the Lord, than serving God, than serving the church, than helping advance the mission of the church. And this is not only for me, this is for all of us, the baptized. All of us are called to be leaders. We are convinced that by virtue of our baptism, all of us are called to lead. And if you want to be part of this growing movement that is Tepeyac leadership, if you want to be part of the TLI family, if you want to invest in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society, would you click on the link above and become a financial supporter today? We need your commitment today. And like I said earlier, every dollar helps. Some of you, I think I've been around the block enough to know now, especially here on LinkedIn. Many of you are friends of mine. I know that the Lord has blessed some of us and has given us the capacity to make a transforming gift, a gift that can take our apostolate to the next level, that can certainly magnify what we have been doing at TLI for so long. Some of you are there. The Lord has blessed you. And perhaps you want to make that gift. You want to make that investment and you still are not sure where, haven't decided on where to place that investment in Christ's kingdom. And some of you may not. I know that certainly not everybody is able to make a major gift, but I sincerely believe that here in the United States, all of us can make a gift, can support a cause like Tepeyac Leadership if we feel that it is a worthy cause. Do you feel that this is a worthy cause? Do you feel that investing in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for the world can make a difference? Friends, if that is the case, if you believe that investing in Catholic leadership for civil society is worth your time, is worth your treasure, then I ask you to be part of this mission, because this invitation to become a Catholic leader in civil society is an invitation to reclaim Christendom. To reclaim Christendom, yes, truly. Because in case you don't know it, friend, in case you haven't realized it, and I know many of you do, Christendom no longer exists. Christendom no longer is. We are standing today in the ruins of Christian civilization. Not the church, certainly not the church, because Christ promised us so. The church will always be standing. But Christian civilization no longer is. That place, that time, that civilization that we all know that existed and that we maybe think about it with nostalgia, right? We yearn for it, that we refer to as Christendom, no longer exists. And so where do we go from now that we realize that we're standing in the ruins of Christian civilization? Well, let me tell you, there was a time before Christendom when it didn't exist either. But there were the first, the 12, and those who revolve around them, right? Who were sent off on a mission, on a leadership mission, who were sent off to transform the world, and so they did. But how did they do it? How did the early Christians transform the world, transform society? How did they do it? Well, let me tell you how they did it, friend. Whether a Christian, we're talking about the early Christians, whether they were a a Christian was a carpenter or a tent maker, whatever his or her occupation was, he would do his job with love, striving for human perfection, for professionalism, doing the job with integrity. And so the early Christians gained the esteem of those in their community. They knew that a Christian was a person of his word, that they could rely on them, that they could trust them, that they could rely on they doing a job well done and delivered on time, that their word was good. The early Christians were admired to the community, the society around them. They were attractive. People looked up to them. They became leaders. And that's how, little by little, gradually, they began influencing the world all around them. So, this invitation to become a Catholic leader for civil society is an invitation to rebuild Christendom. And I'm not talking about some crazy notion of going back to the Middle Ages, friends. I'm talking about building a Christian civilization for the 21st century. Do you want to be part of that adventure? If so, I ask you to make an investment on Tepeyac Leadership today. We're just getting started. This is the first day of a 5-day campaign. And if I have to run out of voice in order to persuade you to join me on this adventure, I will. And I will be waiting for you tomorrow at the same time for the second in this series of Rise Up, and Lead, a Catholic Call to Action. Have a wonderful evening. Have a blessed evening. We'll see you tomorrow, friends.